Welcome to episode 42 of the Landlady Boss podcast. My name is Marie and I'm here with my sister and co-host Rachel. How are you doing, Rachel?
Great. How are you doing, Marie?
I'm doing so well. I'm having a great week with multiple renos going on. It's been crazy ordering supplies and getting things delivered and trying to keep it all straight. How's your week going?
Great. We just finished our spring break. So we rented a car and traveled around Bulgaria and saw really cute towns, hiked up to the monastery and bought some pottery. And it's just a really fun week. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah,
It sounds magical.
yeah, yeah.
How fun.
Yes.
Much more relaxing than my week. My big problem is there are apartments next to my apartments, and
No.
Lowe's loves to deliver things to that apartment complex instead of mine,
Oh,
even though the address is different. So
no.
luckily we have some tenants over there that are trained now and they just bring the stuff over to us. But I just always like, did it get there or not? Did Lowe's go to the right place? I'm not sure. So
Oh, no. Oh, no. That's
it's been kind of confusing, but yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, little problems. But today we want to talk about where to focus your money when you are doing reno projects because we're getting into spring. I'm sure the list is already starting of projects that you need to do, or as tenants are letting you know that they are moving out in this upcoming season of move outs and move ins. So I'm sure your list is already started. But when you go into these units that need to be updated, or maybe you're purchasing new properties and want to know where to focus your money, it's kind of overwhelming sometimes. You're not sure. You don't want to overspend, right? You don't want to do too much, but you also want to make sure that you're focusing your money in the right places that's going to give you the best return on your investment. So we thought that'd be a great topic to talk about today as we get into that busy season.
It's true. I think when you're looking at your property, sometimes they're dated. And if you're in a place where there are a lot of tenants looking for property, then sometimes you say, well, we can keep the 70s. But if you're in a more like competitive market, then maybe a little update might be the difference between someone renting from you and someone renting from somebody else. And definitely pictures go a long way in advertisements. So
Right. The whole goal is to make the space stylish, make it look updated, newer, fresher on the least amount of money possible, right? But also durable. So it's kind of a game. It's kind of tricky because you want to find materials and supplies that are going to last a long time, that aren't too expensive, but also look really great. And you also have to look for your market because every market's different and there's different styles in different markets or expectations for what applicants are looking for.
yeah.
So first I would start with, before you're like, I'm going to throw all this money into a kitchen, I would first start with just analyzing your market
Mhm.
and looking at what is out there with your competition. Because if the norm where you are is high-end appliances, granite countertops,
Mhm.
very nice features, then you're going to want to make sure that you're focusing on those so you don't get left behind. But if your market is laminate countertops, basic appliances, vinyl sheet flooring, then you would be overspending to go in and do all these nice finishes. So it's really important, I think, to start with a market analysis, like anything in property
Right.
investing, right, Rach?
Right. And I think the other thing you need to remember is you're not making it for you to live in. So often you put yourself in there and you're like, okay, well, I prefer, and you fill that blank with whatever expensive, beautiful thing you like, and remember it's a rental. And so you can quickly overspend just because you want to make it a second home that you would like to live in. And so you need to remember that this is needing to be functional and durable that we talked about, and beautiful. Like it has a lot of qualifiers, but at the end of the day, it's not the home you're going to live in. And so when you're looking at it, you need to look at it from that point of view so that you make it a really good rental, but not like put a lot of extras that are expensive and blow your budget out of the water.
Exactly. You do not have to live there. It's not going to be your forever home. You do not have to do any high-end finishes or knocking out walls or taking out, features that you wouldn't necessarily like, but that are just fine in a rental, unless you are going that route because it's a really high end rental. That's why knowing your market's good. But I
Right.
know one rule of thumb people use is 5 to 7% of their gross rental income for the
Mhm.
year as an amount to spend on the reno. So this is just kind of a rule of thumb. You know, some people look at how much more can I get per month in rent, and then whatever that extra is, say you can get $50 extra a month because of such and such. Well, how long would it take you to recoup the cost of it? And then I've heard some people have, like, well, I have to be able to recoup that within 3 years or four
Right.
years, whatever that number is. But it's really good to kind of have some of these rule of thumbs so you don't just blow the bank and go all out and then you're stuck not recouping that
Overbuilt.
money and
Yeah.
it's overbuilding and not
Yeah.
getting that money back in increased rent. So
Hmm.
you really have to look at those features.
Right, because at the end of the day, this is a business, and so you have to calculate those things. As money makers, sometimes it's easy things like adding a washer and dryer, and sometimes we're talking about the kitchen. So if you're looking at your kitchen, I think the first thing you do is look at what you can keep. What are the things that you can redo? What are the things that can you keep the cabinets? Are the countertops good? But maybe you need to change out the appliances. Like, what are the things that are the weak areas of your kitchen?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think if you can make small tweaks to make the flow of a kitchen better, those are always going to be worth your money because when it feels bigger and when it feels more open, more spacious, people respond to that. And I just have an example of this because I'm redoing one of the apartments I'm redoing right now. It had an older style kind of peninsula that came out into the living room. And
Mm.
this is more an efficiency apartment. It's like a one bedroom small apartment. So you know how they kind of had those like jut out these long kind of peninsulas from the kitchen. So it was all attached, but it made the kitchen feel very narrow and almost like a galley kitchen, to walk in there because you had this peninsula on one side and then your appliances. And when you open the fridge, you can't even really fit because you bump into this peninsula. So obviously the flow was not good in this apartment. And it's a smaller apartment, so every little square inch makes a difference. And so when you came in, you saw the living room and the dining area, and then you had this peninsula kind of jutting out into the living room. So it really broke up the space and made it feel smaller. And so since we had assessed the cabinets and they were so old and not salvageable, so
Mhm.
we were renovating it, we were pulling out all of the cabinets anyways, I decided to change the whole layout to make it an L-shaped kitchen kind of along the wall. And
Mhm.
it opened up the whole entire space and made it so someone could, even if they wanted, put like a little island or something to have extra counter space, but it really opened it all up. And so now you walk in and the living room and the kitchen and dining room are all one, but it's just this open concept, which people really love and it makes such a difference. So it didn't cost me anything extra. If anything, it's probably cheaper because I didn't need nearly as many cabinets and a custom kind of countertop to make this peninsula work. So I feel like it was a good decision. As soon as the cabinets go in this week, I'll put a video on the social media so everyone can see it. But it just changed the whole flow of the space and made it way more spacious feeling.
Open. That's really good. That's a good use of space. And also, when you're looking at it, and it's a one bedroom, you think they can't be a family of five in here. So there's not going to
Right.
be the need for all of the counter space. And so much more useful would
Mm-hmm.
be to have a bigger living area. Yeah,
Yeah.
more useful space. So that's really good. Hmm.
Another aspect, though, as
Yeah.
I mentioned, the fridge was kind of cramped, and I moved the fridge over to the other wall
Hmm.
and thereby because it was right next to the stove. So you had the stove and the fridge, and it was just really cramped. There's no counter space on the side of the stove to do anything.
Yeah.
So I just, by moving the fridge over on the end of the other wall, you now can put a little counter space next to the stove
Hmm.
and it's not so cramped and you can open the door and not, bump into anything. So that just moving that one appliance, I think really helped too.
I did the same thing. I had a house that was built in the 1950s, and the stove was kind of just jutting out from the wall, and so it was really bad flow. And across from the stove was a doorway, and it was the second doorway for a bedroom. So I sheetrocked that doorway in, and then I was able to put the fridge there, and then put the stove where the fridge was, and then created this whole ability for the kitchen to be useful and not just have like the stove sticking out in a very awkward way as if it was an afterthought. So it was good. But yeah, sometimes looking at other spaces, if like across the way, if you can wall something up or open something out, it really it's an ingenious way to reconfigure a kitchen. I like that.
Yeah, and you want
Yeah.
to make sure you're using every square inch of space possible, not have dead space or like dead corner. That was
Hmm.
another thing. The corner, they had it open and then the stove right in front of it. So all that space in that corner you couldn't
Wasted.
actually access.
Hmm.
And so now we are now putting in the corner Lazy Susan
Hmm.
units, lower and upper, so they now have all that storage space. They can access it and get in there and reach around. So it's really a lot better use of the space for storage.
That's wonderful. Good job. That's huge. So yeah, we're looking at flow. You like that triangle. You like the ability to use your stove, your fridge, and your sink. Make sure that there's good access to all three. Having counters next to the stove. Sometimes if you put the stove right next to, like if you don't think about it, the stove right next to the fridge, I mean, it's just, you do need that space for people to put pans down and be able to cook. And so like thinking of it in a functional way, I think helps you also design that so that there's those spaces. Yeah, that's really good.
Right.
Yeah.
And then with cabinets too, to think about if you save them or not. Now, another unit, people had moved out and they were older wood cabinets. They were pretty beat up, but
Hmm.
we were able to paint them with
Hmm.
high quality cabinet paint and salvage them, and they looked fantastic and put new hardware on them. So that goes a long way to updating a space too. If you can paint them if they're still good, because so often these older cabinets
Hmm.
are solid wood.
Yeah.
And the new stuff you're going to buy at the big box stores or whatever are
Right.
just press
Sawdust.
board, and
Yeah.
yeah, they are not, and they get wet, they're just going to fall apart. And so I
Hmm.
really try, if I absolutely can, to save these solid wood
Hmm.
old cabinets, even if it
Hmm.
just means painting them, or I usually don't take the time to sand them down and stain them just because
Hmm.
that's not usually cost effective for labor. But some of these high quality cabinet paints can really harden and be durable. So that's
Right.
something to think about. This unit, unfortunately, the cabinets were toast. They
Mm.
were falling apart. So they had to come out. But cabinets are tricky because, it's always a decision. Do you get new? Do you try to salvage it? Do you get painted? Do you get
You go
white? Because that
white.
looks
Yeah.
fantastic in the pictures. It looks
Yeah.
fresh and
Clean.
new. Or do
Hmm.
you try to go like a wood because that's going to be more durable? And I had to decide this just 2 weeks ago when I was ordering all the
Hmm.
cabinets because it was exactly the same price.
Hmm.
And I actually have a really great cabinet guy out of Ohio that does everything for me because his cabinets are plywood boxes and wood doors and so much better constructed than you get
Yeah,
when you do go to Lowe's or Home Depot. I mean, I've had to use those
I have
before,
too.
the Diamond Now series, and it's a
Yeah.
little better than their basic, but still
Yeah.
it's just press board, and it's just not very easy
Yes.
to
Hmm.
fix when it starts falling apart. So anyways, he gave me the price quotes, and it was exactly the same price for a light wood. It looked like almost a maple finish. It wasn't the honey oak, so it wasn't going to be super dated looking necessarily,
Hmm.
even though I guess that's coming back. I don't know.
Yeah.
But or the painted white, and I really went back and forth because I thought, I love the look of the white. It's so clean and fresh, but the wood
Yeah.
is just going to wear so much better. And I had to ask that
Mm-hmm.
question, will I get a different amount of rent based upon which one I choose? No, I'm going to be able to choose exactly the same. And at least for this property where it is, it's a little more rural. As I
Hmm.
said, it's a 1 bedroom apartment in a 7 unit. I typically have, single men or
Hmm.
just single people living there, not like families, not like a lot of kids and large families and everything, because they are smaller units. And so
Hmm.
honestly, I went with the wood. It's going to wear better. It's still going to look good. It actually looks a little warmer. That's something you struggle with when you do maybe the white cabinets and
Hmm.
gray or white countertops or these light colored walls and everything, sometimes it can look a little sterile. So you kind
Right.
of have to find ways to warm it up a little. So I actually felt like the wood option warmed the space up and will be more durable, and it was the same cost. So that's the decision I made, for better or worse.
That's good. I was surprised at how expensive it was to paint. I went as inexpensive as I could and got new cabinets, and I got them from Home Depot, and I stuck them in, and then I got a painter to come, and he was, spraying
Oh,
them,
wow.
and yeah, and to sand them, to clean them, to spray them twice, two coats, and you
Hmm.
can't get any dust in them, so they had to, create this kind of tint, and I mean, to do them well, it was expensive, and so I think when you take the painting along with the cabinets, as opposed to staining in the workshop and bringing them over pre-stained and installing them. Yeah, I imagine it's the same price. So then it's a question of preference. Which one do you like? And if you're going to use your old cabinets, then of course the option is either to sand them down and stain them or to paint them. But think about the ease of buying new hardware. Like that is one quick way to completely change a 70s cabinetry to something a little bit more updated. And it's the least expensive way to update your cabinets.
Absolutely. If the cabinets are in good shape and maybe they just look a little dated,
Yeah.
putting some new hardware on and possibly new countertops is your
Yes.
most inexpensive way to go if you can get away with that. Do
Hmm.
that. And most
Yeah.
tenants are not, unless you're in like maybe a very high-end area or a very competitive area. I have not had any tenants say, gosh, I wish these were white or painted cabinets, or this wood doesn't. Wood
Mm.
is very timeless and looks great, and people usually are very open to having it. So put your personal preferences aside. Obviously, like you were saying, put your emotion
Yeah.
aside and just
You're
say
not living
what
there.
will work better. Yes, you're
Hmm.
not living there. What will work better? And this is a
Yeah.
business, as you said. So you really just
Yeah.
don't want to come in and blow the bank on your cabinets and then not have money for other features
Hmm.
or things that do need to be done, such as say the flooring or a new bathtub or things that have to be done and are very visible.
Do you know if we're talking about cabinets, if we're really talking about storage, a lot of cabinets, the lowers are so deep um, that if you have only lowers or only deep cabinets, a lot of things get lost. Like where do you put spices and things like that? And so um, they have some different options that you can look at of like pull out drawers for spice cabinetry or like tall cupboards for sliding in cookie sheets. How often have you done that, Marie, where you didn't do uppers, but you did some kind of interesting lowers?
Well, I haven't gone inside the cabinets and added features, if that's
Hmm.
what you're meaning. Like I haven't
No.
gone in and put in different kinds of
Hmm.
storage options, but I
Hmm.
have done where I have kept maybe the lowers because, they were salvageable and in good shape, but
Hmm.
maybe a little dated. And then I've done something fun with the uppers. I've either painted them a different color or I've taken them down completely
Hmm.
and put open shelving, which doesn't provide a lot of storage, but it looks really great
Yeah.
and updates the space immediately. So
Hmm.
I've done that in a couple places, and it's looked 100% better.
Hmm.
Just by taking down the uppers and leaving the lowers and just putting some nice shelves, either wood or metal, kind of fun modern shelves, it really updates the space quickly.
Another thing that I've done is looking at the closets that are near the kitchen. So if you have a coat closet that's pretty close, you might think about that, whether it was more useful as a coat closet or putting shelving in and have it as a pantry. Because a lot of people look for pantry. And so that might be something where you could even half it, where half it's a bottom shelf of like upper shelves and then below is a rack for the coats and stuff. And you can think about space that way, so that when you do the tours, you can show them, yes, here's your pantry, because a lot of people love that. So that's another idea. Mhm.
Yeah, that's a nice
Yeah.
use of space because it is hard to find places to
Yes,
put food.
it
So,
is.
a closet that can become a pantry is great. The countertops, let's talk countertops because
Yes.
that is a big place that you can blow the bank.
Yeah.
And it's very important because you want it to be durable, but
Hmm.
you also don't want to, go all out. So I would reiterate, look at what your competitors have
Hmm.
in there. If it's an area where everything is granite, then you probably go granite. And granite, they do have some very cheap lines of granite, that
Right.
cheaper lines that you could go that are almost similar to,
Yes.
say, nicer laminate when you
Right.
start looking at it. Rachel, have you had experience with that?
Totally. Yes. The difference was like a couple $100s. And so then I thought, well, and because it depends, if you have huge islands and so you have large amounts of granite needed, then that's going to be more expensive. But let's just say you have an L shape, so you just have these kind of smaller sections around the stove by the sink, then you're not needing tons of granite. And so then you price it out and you realize, oh, for a couple $100, I actually could have this granite instead of the laminate. I've done both. I did a black laminate in one of the remodels because, as some fashionable person said, it's like eyebrows. It's just like it's neutral, but it adds kind of just like a little pizzazz. So I
Okay.
tried it and it looked good. It looked really good. But and then I did granite in a house that I was flipping because the price was so minimal, the difference, and yet I would be able to sell it more easily along with rentals. I mean, that's the same ideas. Would you be able to rent it for more? That's a good question.
Yeah, and that's what you have to evaluate as you look at those numbers. I tend to, in most of my apartments, just because of the location and what the comparables are, I do those preform laminate countertops from, Lowe's, or the Romano or the Carrara Bianco, just kind of those patterns that are just in those 8 foot or 10 foot runs, because they are so inexpensive. I mean, we're talking $179 for a
Mm-hmm.
10 foot run, and that's what my market supports. Granite and quartz and all those, they're really not in the rentals that
Mm-hmm.
I'm competing with, and so I don't feel like it's necessarily needed. I did put butcher block countertops in a house once, a rental I have,
Yeah.
and I know people love them, but like I have had more maintenance, just kind of headache with that. It seems like when someone moves out, we have to sand them down and then try to like clear coat them again. And there's
Mm-hmm.
just, water spots, and it seems high maintenance to me, even though I
Mm.
thought it would be really low maintenance. So I'm not a fan of the butcher block in tenants, even though some
Right.
people rave about them.
Right. No, I think you have less control over how they're used and how people, yeah, exactly. If they put a lot of hot, wet things on them that absorb that, if it goes too long and they haven't been treated with the linseed oil and like kind of buffed in there, yeah, then you have damage that would require you to rip those out. So I could see why that would be something that maybe the tenants never used before. Do you use flat stoves or do you use burner stoves?
Well, if it's an option where I am buying it, I use the burners with the grates, just because they are
They're
so
cheaper.
low maintenance. They're cheaper, they
Yeah.
are more durable. They're not going to put something heavy on it and crack it. But that's, my market. So it just depends what you're looking at. What do you do?
Well, do you pay the upcharge to get the self-cleaning
No.
portion of it? Because I think
No,
that
but what I do is I
I
get the
could get
vinyl
much more with
sheets
it.
for $3.99 at
Hmm.
Walmart or Amazon, and when anyone moves in, we put the vinyl oven sheets in each unit. And that saves such a amount of time and headache in trying to scrub the bottom of the ovens. If you have never seen vinyl oven sheets, you need to. It's life changing. You no
What?
longer have to, if it's an electric oven. If it's a gas and has gas on the
Yeah.
bottom, you can't put them on there; they will melt. But you just put those oven sheets in, and we put them in before people move in, and you just pull them out, and you can replace them. I use them in my own house. If you get like all those crusties and stickies boiling over, you just pull it out and you put a new one in. They're a few bucks, and so I do not pay for the self cleaning, because I don't think tenants are typically going to use it, and
Mm.
the cleaners are going to need to get in there and kind of clean it with a little more elbow grease. So
I probably wouldn't use the vinyl
I don't know.
sheets if you're using self-cleaning ovens because I bet those two would go terribly together.
You'd have to
Like
make sure you take it out. And, yeah, maybe not.
maybe not.
Oh my
But
goodness.
that's amazing. I
That could
haven't
be a
heard of
mess.
those. Huh, the vinyl sheets for the
Oh,
bottom.
lifesavers. Yeah, they
Wow.
have them in Walmart in the kitchen
Hmm.
section, rolled up there, and you can get multi-packs on Amazon, of course. So check those out.
I've replaced pans very often. often between tenants. Those just the pans that go under the burners, just, they pick up. What I've found is
Yeah.
interesting is
Hmm.
most of my tenants have never known that the top of the stove lifts up. I just thought that was an interesting
Oh,
because it lifts up and then you clean under it, but they don't
yeah.
know. So then when I go
They
to
didn't
check,
know.
no, they don't know. Anyway, okay, so we've got appliances. Do you typically provide all the appliances in your rentals?
I do. I do a stove and a fridge. If there's an over the range microwave, then obviously we have that. It's already built in, but I do
Hmm.
not provide like a counter microwave, and I
Hmm.
try to avoid dishwashers at all cost because
Garbage
they're
disposals?
headaches.
Do you do
Try
garbage
to avoid those
disposals?
too if I
Same.
can.
I do too. Those
We end up
are,
taking them out. If they have them, we end up taking them out and just
yeah,
not having them. So it's a
yeah,
headache.
it's a headache that they put everything down there. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So, including grease. All right. So, those are interesting things about kitchens. When you're looking at flooring options, I mean, a kitchen is definitely going to get wet. Like like bathrooms, kitchens are high traffic, wet zones. I know when I
Yeah.
was doing student complex, I changed the baseboards to a rubber baseboard so that so it'd be easier to mop. And I did that in the bathrooms and the kitchens. I mean, as renters, I think you have to look at your flooring because it's going to warp right under where the sink is if you're not careful. So what do you use for your flooring?
I do a luxury vinyl plank,
Hmm.
that is really popular right now. I You can't have a wood core or anything like that,
Hmm.
but just that rubber vinyl plank, very flexible because a lot of my units also are older homes, so there might
Hmm.
be uneven flooring. So I need something very forgiving.
Hmm.
But yeah, I've had a lot of luck with just the luxury vinyl plank flooring.
Yes, I think when it's not level, you could do a glue down vinyl roll so that it glues down and it kind of moves with the floor. But thinking about the maintenance of them, when I did vinyl rolls, I got the type where you could cut out the piece of they're in wood. They look like wood, but
Do you mean
it's a
like the
rollout.
vinyl sheets, like
Hmm.
what we'd think of linoleum back in the day, but they're vinyl sheets?
Yes, yes, like it's a
Okay.
rollout product. Yes.
Yeah.
So you actually
Okay.
could cut out the pattern of the wood and then replace it with the same, and then with
Oh,
heat, it
nice.
like melts into it and then it disappears perfectly. And so it really was a good product for replacing areas. So that was really good with students. I love that because tile has grout and that is permeable.
Hmm.
You have to seal it every year, and then also the LVT, it does buckle, and so I do like a rolled out product. Like yeah, I do the
Yeah.
sheets.
I
I
have
do.
used those too. It depends on the place, especially if it is uneven flooring.
Hmm.
Sometimes my flooring guys say, you know what, you can't even get away with the planks. You really need to use a sheet.
Yeah,
But it just depends on the
yeah,
space, but I find them to be very cost effective. The vinyl sheeting is cost effective, but
yeah.
there is always the concern if they puncture it. But I like this idea of what you're
Right.
saying. If you can patch it well, that's
Mhm.
fantastic. And they do have a
Yes,
lot of really nice looking prints now. It's not the
they do.
linoleum from the 80s that has the geese on it.
Yeah, no, we totally. No, I think the products they've gotten thicker, they've gotten easier to replace pieces of it. I think what I really love about it is that everyone can mop it or sweep it, dust it. It's a lot less maintenance for tenants. There's no little pieces that can get caught in
Right.
the gaps. Yeah, and they don't shift. So I do like that a lot.
And keeping the color scheme obviously neutral is
Mhm.
important. You're just going to appeal to a broader range of people, whether it's the flooring or the paint. Now, flooring, obviously the grays are out. I do try to use a blend. I like this canvas color that Mohawk has. It's like a light brown, but like whites and grays. It's a really
Mhm.
good blend. It freshens the space up. It looks really light. It
Mhm.
hides everything. I've been hesitant to do a specific brown for the vinyl plank flooring because browns come and go and dark or
Yeah.
light or there's so
Yeah.
many trends, and so you definitely want to avoid things that are trendy, that are
Mhm.
obviously going to be out in a year or two. You don't want to do really bold bright colors for
Mhm.
rooms. You don't want to do anything that's going to be like just really an era. And
Right.
so I would keep warm, neutral colors, grays, whites, beiges, browns, in that range. The gray walls are out, but I do a pearly white is what I do on all of my walls. It's a
Hmm.
really warm white, and I just do the same color on all of my rentals, so it makes it really easy. If we need to patch up, we know what color it is.
Keeping things neutral allows your tenants to make it their home and not have to be forced into some sort of color scheme that you chose for them. So that's a good thing to
Right.
remember.
I mean, you want to be appealing to as many people as you can be. So
Yes.
keeping it neutral is going to be very important. And even if you do an accent wall, which I have done before, it's like a charcoal or a navy, or I mean, it's a color that's
Yes.
very versatile. I'm not doing like a purple room or anything like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just keeping it very neutral. And then they can bring in things with rugs and with paintings and stuff,
Hmm.
but just keeping it light and fresh and updated and durable and cost effective. Those are your goals. And so,
Yes.
you want to choose, yeah, cabinetry or flooring or wall paint color
Hmm.
that's you can say, in 5 years, is this still going to look fine? It doesn't have to be the
Right.
height of the trend, but is this going to still be fine? And so
Yeah.
that's what I go for.
Will it look nice? Good. And so we've done kitchens, bathrooms. I think when I was trying to remodel a bathroom and add a second bathroom into a house, which was kind of a big deal. When older houses often just have one bathroom, and if you can add a second one, uh, tenants are a lot happier. With this second bathroom, space was a little bit funny. So I ended up doing a corner shower. And if you've ever looked at those are quite good space savers because there's corners, and then you get the round portion actually opens up, makes it so that the shower's not as small as it would be if you did like a square. So I think that was really helpful. What are some things that you've done for space saving?
In bathrooms when they're
Hmm.
little,
Hmm.
whew, well, definitely not oversizing the vanity. Often you go into a
Hmm.
small bathroom and they may have a huge vanity that's taking up too much space, and by making that vanity smaller, the bathroom actually feels bigger. So
Yeah.
that's one area I've been able to do. Not having overhead shelving. There's a lot of shelves or like the cabinetry and stuff that can make the space feel smaller. So if I do shelving over a bathroom, I have it open
Hmm.
shelving so that it feels larger. Lighter colors, like you
Hmm.
said, obviously taking out a big tub or something and doing, yeah, a smaller shower is going to make the space feel better. If you're needing to squeeze in a toilet there, or arrange it that way, that's something can do. But if it's your only bathroom, you probably want to keep a shower tub combo, just because if they have pets or kids or whatever, people do like to have the option of the tub. So
Right.
some of those things are helpful. And I always take down the medicine cabinet mirrors and put in a nice modern, minimal looking mirror that
Hmm.
always updates the space, and making brighter bulbs. So it's just a brighter area using lighter bulbs. Don't do the soft whites, use like a bright white so it looks brighter. That's helpful too.
I make sure that I use a higher gloss, like a semi-gloss, so that it can be
Yeah.
scrubbable. And a couple of things, I've put washer and dryers stacked in the second bathroom, so then it's not in a basement. That's really nice for people who
Mm-hmm.
want one-level living. So I've added that possibility. So you have the hookups and you can keep both sets. So they don't have to put it there, but it does give a same level option, which is always nice. So those are just a couple things for bathroom. I think um, you're right about the light colors. I mean, it's naturally a smaller room.
That's definitely a good idea. And in the tub showers, I have found it's not worth the expense to tile them. I do the tub surrounds or the shower surrounds.
Yes.
They're easy to clean. There's not grout everywhere that gets mildewy or dirty. So that's something you'd have to look in your area to see. But if you can do a shower tray and just have the surrounds and a glass door or something, it just looks so much better and easier to maintain and cleaner than trying to clean mildew off of grout, and plus
Hmm.
the expense and labor that goes into tiling a shower. So
Right.
that's something to
Right.
look at for sure. But I think as we go through this, definitely just keeping in mind that this is for functionality. This is to look good, but to wear well and to make sure that it's going to be durable and last a long time. So keeping the the supplies you use as neutral and making sure that they are appealing to a wide variety of people is going to help you, and just making sure that it's clean and bright. The light bulbs are brighter, the paint colors are lighter, just making sure that it looks clean and welcoming, and people feel like when they come in how spacious the space is. That's going to help, and it's going to come across in your photos, and it's going to come across in your tours. So
Hmm.
just making sure that it's all consistent.
Right. And I think when you're shopping, if you do a lot of specialty items, specialty lights, hanging pendants that are really like gorgeous, but you can't replace them when they go out, when they get broken. So think about how are you going to replace that, and try not to put one unique thing in there that is unreplaceable. Instead, get universal sizes that you could go back and get a different light, for that area or something, because you are going to have to replace these things. So make them replaceable.
Yeah, and definitely think of timeless styles versus just that current trend that's, everyone's doing or whatever. Think, okay, in 5 years, how is this going to age? Will
Hmm.
this be something that still looks good and just kind of has that classic feel to it? And remember, you do not have to live there. So when you are going through these things, what is the most cost-effective way that you can make the space look clean, updated, and durable? So take the emotion out of it and take all the Pinterest posts out of it and everything that you'd love to do, unless it's a flip or something that you're going in for like top dollar to resell or something like that. Just take that emotion out of it and realize, this is a business, and will this increase the rent or not? Is this something that you'll recoup or not? And then really try to make good decisions with that. And once you find good materials, keep reusing those. See about buying in bulk, or find ways to buy, maybe at a discount if you buy things like all at once, or even maybe clear out items or display items. Find ways to kind of save money that way, and that can go a long way.
You could also talk to all of these different companies and let them know that you're a property manager and that you have a business, and you can fill out the form, and often you can get wholesale pricing because you are in property management. They don't have to know that you only have three places or one place, or if this is your business and you have an EIN, then try to get wholesale pricing on things, because it is your business. It is an investment. It's not your home. So use that, and then you can get better pricing.
That's true. Such a good tip. So many things here, and it's good to just analyze that and find ways to save. And if you can get those materials discounted, continue those relationships, and that's just a great way to save a little bit here and there, and it really adds up. But so many great tips. Hopefully this helps you as you go into this spring season and all the renos and projects you have coming up. Let us know any questions you may have, or maybe specifics about materials we like to use. Email us at landladybosses@gmail.com. And if you would like more course material on how to get started with your property management business, or maybe how to screen your tenants, or check-in, check-out lists, or all the templates and materials and things that can help you run your property management business better, check out landladyboss.com, and we have a lot of information there for you. So we just want to find ways that can help you be a better landlady boss. And remember, no one can manage your properties as well as you.